Agree, disagree, neutral. If you don't know, neutral, I'll tell you about it in a minute. So just everybody right now, just kind of pick a side. If you undecided, it's okay to go to the back. So if you notice, remember I'm teaching about teaching while teaching. If you notice, this is a way that you're going to get everybody up in some kind of way. Even that person who does not talk much, who is very non-vocal, they will have an opportunity to even just to go stand in the neutral side. If they know, like, I ain't into this, I'm going to go stand in the neutral side. They are going to go there. But it's an opportunity for them to get up and walk. Another thing that's going to happen is, if anyone has been in the classroom, how many of you got that person that just won't shut up? This is giving them a chance to use that skill in a positive manner. You got that person who just know everything, talk about everything. Well, this is their time to be able to speak. All right. So at this point, once everyone has chosen a side, so we got some, this is our agree, this is our disagree, and these are our neutral. Hopefully, as we go from side to side, our neutrals, our goal is to get everybody who's in the neutral side to take a stand. Okay? So, I want you guys to agree and disagree side. I want you guys to decide amongst yourselves very, very quickly. Anyone who wants to make a response to why you agree or disagree with this statement. Okay, and I do want to go with the disagree side first. And the only reason I'm doing that is because they don't have as many. You guys have more numbers over here, so I want to go with the disadvantage side first. All right, and you could go.
I personally don't want to do it. So I know, like, even if I was 18, I would not want to be in the military. Granted, you don't always have to fight, but I just, like, training and all, I don't want to be in the military. I'm not the person for it.
It said for national service.
Wait. Neutrals, y'all ain't got no points. Y'all don't have a point. I'm Okay, so we already got one. So, all right. So, I don't know. You kind of. Let me give another disagree person because she switched sides in her response.
Well, I just feel like, you know, everything isn't meant for everyone to do. Like, it's just certain things, like, I don't think you should force people to do stuff that they're, like, naturally just not passionate about. And I feel like that kind of fits with, like, the culturally, like, adapting to different cultures. So it's something, you know, it's certain people with different cultures, like, as far as maybe the army, they don't believe in, like, war. Or it's just people that, it's certain cultures, like, they may be, like, more focused on, like, take care of their immediate families. So they may feel like, you know, natural service organization, like, they probably feel like they shouldn't be forced to do that, so.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so I want someone from the agree side to respond, but remember, what's the rule before you can respond? Okay, you gotta repeat or somehow summarize acknowledge what they have said.
I understand what you're saying, that, you know, people are different and that's just something that they shouldn't do or they may not want to do, but it's not something that you can't do. That's why people get the misconception of being in the military. They have this perception of, oh, we just gonna go to war or whatever and we just gonna go out there shooting and killing. No, actually, military does a lot of service projects and stuff like that, and it's just not about war. They train you for that, but the values of that is loyalty, honor, respect, selfless service, courage. It teaches you those values that we as Americans value, but it teaches you those values for you to branch out and show other people. And, you know, with courage and selfless service is one of our main values, is, you know, you giving back to somebody even if you don't know that person. You know, you look out for your battle buddy. You're never alone. You make sure that if you're okay, that happens. You're okay. You never leave. It's about not leaving anybody behind. And it teaches you those values that you can use later on in life. And those things that you use are in our American culture. And how can, you know, you say, well, it's not for you. It's not that you can't do it. You just have the perception of, well, I don't want to do that because this might happen, this might happen. But it teaches you those things, and if you put your mind to it, you can do it. It's not impossible, and it's not something people are just scared of it because you're not ready to face it. So.
I just want to say something.
I
can't. That's right. Go
That's
ahead.
a rule. Okay. So This is the way it would go. I'll let you say something in a minute.
Yeah, it's
But so at this point, as the moderator, I would say, okay, so based on those responses, if you want to switch sides or actually choose a side, you may do so at this point. So if there's anyone who wants to switch sides or actually choose a side based on those responses, you may do so right now. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll do one more round just to keep the conversation going, but essentially the goal would be to go until we've gotten all the neutral, actually to everybody to one side. That's the goal if you really had time as a teacher, but that's the goal. All right, back to our disagree side.
I like that the values that you posted are very important, especially in American culture, to, I guess, better us all. But I know some people who really don't need to be in the military and don't want to. And I know some people that I don't want service in our community and do not want to. America is the land of the free. We do have a choice. And I think we should respect that. And if people don't want to serve in the classroom with 3 and 5-year-olds, or if they don't want to go pick up something for community service in the trash outside, if they just want to do them and get their things situated, that's what we're all about.
Okay, so to our agree side.
I definitely agree. It's definitely the land of the free and home of the brave. I feel that still as foundation of our country though is to help others. Like for example, like the Constitution originally made to speak on behalf of like the people and to watch out for people or checks and balances. Like no man is an island type of thing. And I feel that if they had, you know, I personally like, if it was just military, like obviously I was on that side, but it says national service, as she pointed out, and like, I think that every single person needs to, like, use their skills with their community. Because you can be a graphic designer and do national community service. You can be, I mean, everybody has some type of interest. And either way, like, yeah, like it applies to your resume, it helps you. And at 18, like, majority of people are graduating high school, so it's a great thing. I don't think it needs to be a few years though. I think it needs to be a certain amount of hours, which is what we kind of already have now for some schools.
They do recruit 18-year-olds
I know,
now.
I'm like, life skills, people.
Not everywhere.
You do it already.
So, I mean, it's some, I think it's some schools that may require it, but as far as a nationally mandated thing for all people, no, that's not by far not the case. So, okay, anybody who wants to switch sides, if you want to switch sides, let's see where we're at. We still got y'all being neutral? Okay. So before we stop, because I do want to move on into what we're doing, I just want to know from somebody back there, why are you remaining neutral? Yes.
I feel like I'm neutral because the question says should require. I don't believe that, like somebody said, that we do have a choice to do whatever we wish. But as of Israel's case, I do believe that national service is helping to build their economy. But I'm also neutral because I want to know if can I pick the program that I get to go in? Because it says required, but you don't know if they're going to pitch me in the military and this and this and that. When I was 18, I really didn't know what I was going to do. So, I understand, but if I don't know what I'm going to do, how am I going to commit myself to some random thing that somebody picks for me? Like, that's too much responsibility at that time. Yes, I'm 18, I'm legal, but I'm still a child in my case. But that's just how I feel about it.
Okay. Anybody else from the neutral end?
I was agreeing with her too, because I like the values and the foundation, and I also like freedom of choice. So I like both of them. And like, when you say national service organization, people automatically think of big names. And I think about the little smaller things that we do in our community, like my church work at the food bank, things like that. I feel like all of that too should fall in, because at least do something, because it do build values and give you a purpose in life, and we all look for our purpose. And you get a purpose early, starting 18 years old, knowing where you can go at.
Okay, good stuff. So, y'all, we literally could probably go on with this for a full-blown day. But, and you guys can kind of go back to your seats if you want.
was thinking.
It did not.
Like you just started open
So as I said, we could go on. If you were a teacher, that is an instructional strategy that you can use. And being that we are STEM people, you can use it in math. One thing that I used to do is do a problem. I taught all kind of every math thing. Every year was something different. But you could put up a problem that's like worked out wrong, and have like, okay, if you agree that this problem was done correctly, the answer's correct, go to this side, that side. Or like one thing, different issues in math is like some teachers say, you must rationalize the denominator. And then some teachers are like, I don't care. You know, stuff like that. In science, there's always a lot of ethical, controversial things, and you can find articles on those types of things. So that's something really quick. Even at the elementary level, you can kind of go through some character building with those students and do something like this. And it's so quick and easy, and you really don't need any materials. But I just wanted to kind of show you that, and at the same time, what this did is kind of propel our conversation into talking about servant leadership. As you see, what I think that Israel is doing and America is trying to do for the most part is create a population of servant leaders. So let's talk about that. Based on what we read and what you already know, what do you feel it means to be a servant leader?
You're giving service. Okay. You're giving services, providing services to the community, and other people are seeing that, and they're seeing it as you taking an initiative and having that leadership role, and you're servicing others, but you're also providing leadership for others that are looking, up to you, and seeing that, though I'm doing service, I'm also being a leader at the same time.
Okay, so don't you think servant leader is a little paradoxical in nature? It's kind of contradicting a little bit. Like, how can you serve and lead at the same time? Yes.
Well, his hand was up first.
Okay, I'm sorry.
For those of us who aren't familiar with what a paradox is, would you enlighten us?
Okay, sorry. Paradox is a statement that can, for instance, servant leader kind of contradicts itself. Like, it's a statement that is very contradictory. Like, how can you serve and lead at the same time? When you serve and you like, here, master, take my stuff. But how can you lead? How can you be a servant leader? But a paradox is something that contradicts itself, yet a servant leader is very present in our society, because in order to serve, you must lead. So it's a lot of little things like that, or statements or things that kind of contradicts. Like if someone says, you are alone in a crowd. Has anyone ever felt alone in a crowd?
It's like you're in a crowd.
Yes. Because but that's a paradox in nature. Yes, Louise. I hope I explained it right. I'm not an English teacher.
What's the difference between oxymoron and that? Is it a different word?
Yeah.
No.
Wait. The oxymoron. Hold on.
This is actually not
And a
smart.
paradox
Two
can
words
be a phrase.
that are different being used together.
They're not interchangeable though.
Oxymoron is like 1-2 words and that's it. Paradox is it's like a phrase.
Yeah, it could be a phrase.
There we go.
Uh-huh.
Yes. I was like, this is not true.
So yeah, we're not an English home math teacher, guys.
Yeah, I'm not English either. Those are good questions.
But no, it's a good question. But I know that servant leader could be considered. And that was a good. Thank you for asking that. What is a pair? Because there's some people that probably like, what you talking about? But anyway, all good things.
This phrase can be from
Dr. Mason.
Soon to be no.
Oh, Miss Mason?
Yes.
Okay, Miss Mason.
Oh, you called me Dr. Mason.
The future. No word.
No, go ahead.
Miss Mason. I did want to say, although servant leader sounds like paradox or an oxymoron, it's not, because a true definition of a leader, a good leader, is one who serves. The best leaders oftentimes serve in the position of being a leader, and this is the difference between being a tyrant or being the oppressor, dictator, commander. The difference is a leader's job is to serve not only those who are following him, but also to serve the people whom he represents, our president, principals, that sort of stuff. My job is about the service that I am going to provide.
Good stuff.
This is true. This is true.
So pretty much, we can just leave now. No, just playing. But I did just want to give you a couple little nuggets of what I've seen or what I know about being a servant leader. So if you look up a definition, the person who actually coined this term is a man named Robert Greenleaf, and he was actually an executive at AT&T. But in my mind, I am of the Christian faith. So actually, to me, servant leadership is something that's biblical. So it comes way before him, but he is the person who actually coined this whole idea of servant leadership and wrote a book on it and all that good stuff. But as he said, a servant leader is a servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve and give and all that good stuff. To serve first, then make a conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. That person is sharply different from one who is leader first, perhaps because of the need to assuage an unusual power drive or to acquire material possessions. So one key thing in here is that servant leaders are those who have a desire to serve first. It's not like I want to lead. That's kind of difficult for someone like, I just want to be in charge. But that's going to be hard for you to actually be able to serve. Anyone know any occupations or jobs that actually you have to be able to serve before you are able to lead?
Retail job.
Okay, retail jobs.
You can be an associate before you can be a manager, before you can be a store manager, before you can be a district manager. So you just gotta work your little way up from that associate position and take you whatever.
So any job that kind of has a hierarchy where you start at the bottom, started at the bottom now.
A lot of medical schools now are
That sounds like
requiring their
medicine,
applicants to be CNAs first.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
Certified.
They want a lot of these
Which is a
things.
big- I
Okay.
good service.
Right. That's definitely service. Any things that we could think about, like throughout the whole thing, basically you have to serve and lead at the same time.
I don't want to get into the subject, but like I think political roles, because I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna. It's politics, so we're into it. I guess like, and then like you're really just serving the people. I'm not gonna say they do that all the time, but I think like that's the entire process. Like even when you're an undergrad to grad to law school to all that stuff, like it's all to serve, and you're balancing like the two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody said this, but I'm just thinking about teachers and principals.
Yes.
And because they all have to serve all the people before they can lead. And in order to lead, they have to know how to serve. Like, okay, I need this from you so I can lead you.
You have to follow before you can lead.
Yes, you have to follow before you can lead. And that's why servant leadership is so important, because as a teacher, you have to know that you are serving the greater good of the community. So you are serving, but in that, you got to know how to stand up tall, be that person that's leading and in charge, but at the same time, you're actually serving. So these are what they call the 10 characteristics of a servant leader. So we're actually going to talk about these and break them down a little bit. But before we do that, I want to talk about which ones do you think more so are servant-like and which ones do you think are more leader-like? Yes, ma'am. I just want, and honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I just want to see if it was anyone else who hadn't, who hadn't spoken. But because you lead, that's what I'm talking about.
I think the most important one's empathy. Obviously, like a little biased because that's what they always teach us through here. But like, it's just empathy. Like to be a leader, you got to be empathetic, because whether it's who you're reaching out to or who you're working with, you have to be empathetic with both sides to facilitate anything.
So if you could pick one, like as far as, servant leader is made up of two parts, being a servant and a leader, which side would you put that? Empathy, would that be something more of a servant or would that be something more of a leader?
I'll pick another word. They're the same. They're the same.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
This list is actually set up where the left side is predominantly the servant side, and the other side is predominantly the leader side. Even persuasion, because servants have to oftentimes persuade the leader. But that persuasion is actually probably one of the most, if not the most, interchangeable one between the two. Everything else on that right side, a leader must be able to do. Because you're responsible for the people, and stewardship might be misinterpreted as a servant position, but it's not. The leader has to be able to take care of the people, the resources, all of that information.
Okay.
I think a leader to work with people could be a servant.
Okay.
I mean, because you're committing yourself to this person.
Very true.
Mhm.
Very true.
Any of these do you guys feel like are just like really, really more so leader type of characteristics?
Building community.
Okay, building community. Why do you say that?
I mean, it runs for both of them, but I don't know whoever was servicing or leading a community some time ago,
Mhm.
they weren't doing one or the other. They were either doing both or maybe they were. Because you said you can't be a leader without being a servant,
Mhm.
but who was leading? And before then, who were they serving?
Okay, so you're
Like,
saying
how did
who?
they start to lead? If we go way on back, how the CEO became CEO because of his mindset. He decided,
Right.
I'm going to start a company.
Or somebody could just inherited the company from their mom and dad. You got those people too who just kind of here. You have it now. Did they have to serve to get there?
Yeah, they had to wait.
Or how about, has anyone ever been in that classroom where the teacher is like, this is my class, you're gonna shut up, take these notes, I don't care what you think.
I wish a teacher would. But I will, and this is off of Marquita. It's off of Marquita's point. Now, all the terms there are interchangeable. I mean, none of them are isolated to servant or leader. In a lot of cases, like, you see kings or, people at the royal court, where their servants actually were able, because of their servants, they were able to make some of the decisions, save the people, do whatever they did. But some of those are strengths of one or the other.
I do agree. So, of course, Robert Greenleaf had a lot to say on some of this stuff. So he actually broke it down and what he thought how this list could be divided up. Hope you can see that. It always looks better on a computer screen than it does on a big screen. But anyway, this is just kind of a list or a Venn diagram. That's something else you can use as an instructional strategy in comparing and contrasting. But we're taking that servant leader idea and breaking it down in things that are important in being a servant, things that are important in being a leader, and things that kind of go between the two. So of course we have listening, empathy, healing, as far as being a servant. Would everyone kind of agree with that? That those are things that usually people who are just like, I just serve, I don't really want to be the head. Those are the types of things that they put forth. Whereas leaders are going to be aware, they have the power of persuasion, conceptualization, and foresight. But the thing that servants and leaders have in common is they must be good stewards, must be committed to people, and must be about building the community. All right. So we're actually going to break down some of these and talking about characteristics of being good listeners and having empathy. So first of all, in being a servant leader, if you're going to be a good listener, you have to be an active listener, not a passive listener. What does that mean?
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
oh wait.
Go ahead.
No, I really forgot. I wanted to see if anyone else. I don't
Yeah.
have anything to say.
That actively, you want to see that everyone was actively listening to it. You had to say.
Oh no, I just someone else to answer.
Oh, no, it's okay.
But to summarize what we just did earlier, and how we have to reiterate what somebody else just said, showing that you're listening to somebody.
And sometimes it literally takes that. And I know I've been in situations where somebody's like, and it, and it shows later on that they really did not take anything that I had to say. But part of being an active listener is making that eye contact with people and actually reiterating, okay, so you just said blah, 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 blah. And that just shows that, one, you even care, or that person is relevant to what you really care about what that person or who you're serving or who you're leading is talking about. And that's important and key, especially with students. Listen completely before deciding. Okay, so as we showed in that activity, and the reason why it's good to reiterate what the person said, some of us are like, I don't care what anyone said, this is my position. And the person before them could have said exactly what they said, or they could have actually been in agreement on something. Or you kind of should take on listening more than acting sometimes. There's this idea of empathy. So when we think of the word empathy, what do we think of? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Don't be afraid to talk now. Look, I shouldn't have said that. Now
No,
you
it's
go.
fine. No, really, it's fine. I've talked like so much
ladies
now.
first.
I've tried my voice, like-
It's okay. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's you.
All right. No, really, y'all actually I'm tired of hearing it. It's like annoying after a while.
Go.
Yeah. So, I don't relating. I actually learned that a lot being an AmeriCorps member is like the difference between sympathy and empathy. Especially when you go to your first time on site with a classroom, you want to be like, oh, they need me, or oh, I'm going to make a difference in and it's not about you. It's actually about you. Empathy is when you are on the level of that person. And you're relating with them. So instead of being like, you know, like here's a water bottle and I'm like above you, like that's kind of like sympathy. But like empathy is like, hey, like let's, you know, my water bottle, your water bottle, like you're relating with them. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so-
we don't have to share, but
And I think in general, I just think it's important that as teacher servant leaders, it's important to number one, remember one, you were in their place once upon a time. You may not have had the same circumstance. You may not have, you know, grew up in an urban community or whatever it may be, but you were at least a student at that age at one point in time in your life. For those who may not have grew up having those same experiences as those students, take some time to think about, well, what might this person really be going through? Like, I've never dealt with some of these issues that these students have. One thing, being a young teacher, and this is something that you may experience, especially if some of you guys are in high school, because you're young, they want to bring these young issues to you. Like, Ms. Mason, so I had a fight with my boyfriend, he choked me. And be like, whoa, you know, like those type of things where you're like, I'm not ready for these type of issues here, or I can't relate. You know, but it's important to, before you jump and say, you know, have your opinion, it's important to listen and somehow, you know, think about, well, let me think about where they come from and their environment and how can I contribute to this. Healing, okay? So I know that may sound a little touchy-feely in nature, but I think it's important that as leaders, as servant leaders, it's important to know that we're all here to solve a common issue as AmeriCorps, as Team AmeriCorps members. And what is our common issue that we're here to heal?
Urban education.
Urban education. And not to say that urban education is such an issue, but obviously the achievement gaps that we have in this country, that is an issue. So we are, in a sense, as servant leaders, we're here to heal that. And sometimes it may take that, you know, that personal touch with the student and you actually digging into whatever is going on in their life. And it may be more than, I just don't get this. It may be that, you know what, school is the only place that I get to eat. It may be, I haven't seen my mother in 2 weeks and I have a 6-month-old baby sister that I have to take care of. It's all kind of stuff that you can't even fathom as an adult that we have these young people going through. So sometimes it may take some healing, like we say, considering their history, and with that, building on that. As servant leaders, it's important that you are aware. So oftentimes I think as a teacher, it's easy to just go in the classroom and just be like, I'm here to do my job and be done with it. I think more so we're used to that sometimes, and it's easy to do that. But one thing that you have to do is be aware of what's going on with students, with teachers, and what's going on within the whole culture of your school. Persuasion. So that was one of the characteristics that we said was more so on the leadership side. But even as AmeriCorps members, it's important for you to have that persuasive vision when you go into these schools. How do you think you would have to use persuasion being a AmeriCorps teacher assistant? What's something that you think you would have to use those persuasive skills? Yes.
Relate. You have had the same experiences that they have in. I don't know how they look at us. I don't know if they think we're the same age or if they think we're just this much older than them. We've been to 10 different schools in our whole lifetime. But relating to educational purposes and that you've been there before
Mhm.
helps them understand that, okay, maybe she's just not here to make me do it,
Mhm.
but she's actually here because she understands and she's going to try to help me in a different way than my teacher has.
Okay, that's good stuff.
Persuading the student to try a new way, to go further, persuading them to not go with I don't know or
Mhm.
it's just too hard, but also persuading the teacher, hey, could we consider another way by which we go about this with these kids?
Mhm. And that's going to be key, just as Dr. Williams talked about. You're going to walk into environments where you will have that assimilated teacher who's like, no, my way, no way. I don't care what you say. And they may think that, oh, you're not skilled enough, or, oh, as Ms. Bradley talked about, you don't want to be the go fetch student teacher. You want to be in there showing that, oh, I'm skilled and I know what I'm doing. So sometimes it may take some persuading, not just to the students, but to the teachers, to show them that you're equipped to do what needs to be done in the school.
Or persuading the principal to give you a job.
Oh, now don't. I was about to say, now wait a minute.
Once you're done with my
Wait a minute.
Well,
there you go.
Okay, conceptualization. Now this is one of those things that's like, well, what do you mean by that? So there, we have a acronym, BAG but SMART. So BHAG means that you should have big, hairy, audacious goals. You need to have, big, hairy.
audacious.
No. What happened here? I didn't do it.
Oh, that little screen thing right there.
Hey.
It should be here. This is where you
Look, we didn't touch it at all, did we? None of us touched it.
That's all what people say we messed it up. It was like that when I got it.
Man, I swear I was standing right here.
Oh, and you on camera too.
I know, right? I know. Oh, wow. But that's okay.
They probably got embarrassed off the acronym, Big Hairy. Oh,
Like, whoa. So the word, I'll continue, but it's BHAG, which stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals, but they need to be SMART. And the acronym that we have for SMART, and you may have actually heard this for, your goals need to be specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time delimited. So in other words, sometimes you may get on these sites and you have these big ideas like, we're about to change this curriculum, we're about to come in here and I'm about to change the mind of the teacher and I want to start my own school, and which are all great things, but you need to have big ideas, but make sure that they are smart and that they are obtainable and that they are measurable. You have a means to do these things, that you have resources, things like that. So make sure that whatever you try to bring forth or whatever concepts that you may have, make sure that, it's a great idea. We want big, nice things that are going to move and change the world, but they also need to be things that are going to be smart and obtainable, I'll say. I hate that it's, that's crazy. Is it a?
I'm gonna go get Steve.
Okay. All right. So the next one was foresight. If you want to write that down, some of you may have written them down already. And having foresight knows that a servant leader knows that with foresight, the decisions and things that you make today are going to affect what happens in the future. okay? And that's important that as teachers assistants, as educators, it's important to know that the things that we do now are going to affect how things are going to happen in the future. And that goes even with you professionally and being a part of this program. You guys are paving a way and preparing yourselves for what's to come in the future. So you guys are in a good place. But on the same end, if we go through this whole experience of AmeriCorps and, you know, kind of like, I don't really care about this, I'm not going to come on time, and I'm not going to really make this a great experience for either side, we're kind of wasting our time and not having that foresight for what this could be for us. The next one was stewardship. Let's talk about that word. What is stewardship? Yeah, anybody know what stewardship is?
What is steward, first of all?
What is the steward? Okay, let me see if maybe he'll answer it for us. Yes.
Well, a steward is one who's entrusted to take care of something. That could be anything from, taking care of a property, money, people, that sort of thing. And stewardship is the act of taking care of that. Stewardship is not just making sure that it's, kept up, but in a lot of cases, it's about increasing it. So if, I said, I need you to be a steward of this account with these funds, your job might also include find a way to make that money grow, get more money into that account.
There is an occupation that has the name steward, or stewardess, is what I'm thinking.
Yes,
Right.
you're thinking of steward, yeah. So basically a stewardess, which would be on a flight, would be someone who's really a lot of times in charge of the life and safety of others on that plane. But as far as us being stewards in education, you are given plenty of resources, whether it be educational resources to the books and all that kind of stuff, your education. Sometimes you may be somewhere and you're given a budget. Anyone done any nonprofit work or anything like that where you've had to work off a grant or something like that? So oftentimes, come on in. So oftentimes you will have to steward things, but you hit the nail on the head when you said it's not just about being able to manage those things, those resources that are right there, but it's also being able, nation, as a servant leader, you need to be committed to, one, caring about people, caring about their growth. If you go into a classroom and the only thing you care about is your living stipend that's coming, or that, well, this is just something to do until I find the next position, but you really have to, in order to make the experience rewarding for you, it's important to really care about the growth of those students and the growth of the community as a whole. Finally, the big picture of it all, as being members of AmeriCorps, being educators, is that we are building community. It's about being a part of the whole. And even though what we do in these schools, it may seem small and minuscule to some, but that's what it's all about. They say the overused saying, it takes a village. Let me see if we're at, oh yeah, here we go. Look at that, as we're almost finished now. That's okay. But it takes a village to raise a child. And we hear that all the time, but it's so true. It does take a village to do what we do. And in order to decrease these achievement gaps and actually reform education as it needs to reform, it's important that we are great builders of community. And it's important that we as educators, as we as what do we say, culturally, what was Dr. Williams? Yes, as culturally relevant educators, we need to come together and build on that. So there needs to be this big sense of camaraderie amongst you all. You guys are getting pieces, you guys have so much to give out there, and it's important that you use each other. And you just don't know what could happen if everyone with their skills and talents can actually come together. It's amazing the things that we will be able to do as Team AmeriCorps. And even once you're out of this program, it's amazing some of the things that you will be able to do. So I hate that it went, haywire on us. But did everyone get those 10 characteristics of servant leaders? All right. So Remember when I talked about paradoxes? So this is our list. And what do we say a paradox was?
It's a phrase of two contradicting things.
Okay, so it's some kind of phrase that's kind of contradictory in nature, but yet at the same time, it's very true. So in being a servant leader, it's going to be important that you are great, but yet you're great enough to be without pride. It's going to be important that you're able to plan, but plan enough to where you're able to be spontaneous and do something like a philosophical chair all of a sudden. But anyway, you need to be compassionate enough to discipline, which I think is very important in education. You have to love on these babies enough to be able to like sit down and be quiet. They need that tough love. You have to be right enough to know when you're wrong. Sometimes you're going to go in places and do things that wasn't quite the right way, but being a servant leader, you have to be able to admit when you're wrong. You have to be serious enough about what you're doing to be able to have some kind of humor in that and have fun. You must be wise enough to admit that you just don't know. Thank you guys, some of you asking questions. Sometimes you will sit somewhere and not know anything that anybody is talking about.
What is empathy?
That's from earlier. We'll talk later. We'll talk after.
I mean, I know what it is pretty much, but there's not sympathy, and it's not necessarily interchangeable. Nobody's ever emphasized what that is necessarily.
So sympathy is more so you are feeling sorry for something, but you can't necessarily relate to it. Like my mother, I still have a mother. She's never passed away. So when my friend's mother passes away, I have sympathy for her because I can't relate because I don't know what you're going through, but I feel bad for what you're going through. Empathy is when I feel what you're feeling. You get me? You have to be busy enough, and this is a real paradox, but you have to be busy and on point enough, being able to be around and available enough to be able to listen to what's going on in all aspects. You have to be strong enough to be open to change. And what this is all about, you have to be that much of a leader where you know that it's very necessary for you to serve. So, as we summarize everything, I want us to just kind of talk about, well, how are we going to put servant leadership into play as AmeriCorps members? And we kind of touched on some things, but what are some specific things that we can do to be good servant leaders within the schools or even outside of what we're doing?
Empathize.
That's the word of the day, empathize. Okay.
I think observe and try to figure out trends. Like you can notice the trend. If you can sit back and observe and not be like, I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna save all these children. Like that doesn't really work. You have to observe the classroom.
Another way is in entering the school, having the mindset of I'm here for what I can give, not so much what I can get or to what I can show, but how can I connect with these individuals? And it's not just those students. That's everybody. How can I connect with them, and what can I give, and what can I improve upon consistently to give more and more better each time that I go inside?
Anyone else?
I think in marrying those two together, what are the needs of the student? So you have to be aware that those are trends. And then how can I address those needs? What can I bring to the table? So like marrying those two.
Anyone else? Okay, well, all those things were good. One thing that I just want I want to charge you as AmeriCorps members, as servicemen and women, I think it's important to, as servant leaders, not just to go and do, I think it's great to do what you are to do as you serve and what you're asked to do, but I just want to charge you guys to start something. And it's okay for you guys to come with, that's part of being a leader, is if you have ideas, it's okay to come to us and say like, hey, I want to do this service project, or I think this may be a great idea, or as you build relationships in those schools, you know, you may say, hey, I have a great idea for us to do things. But as servant leaders, it's not just about serving as we learn, but it's also about leading, and that goes vice versa. So I just charge you guys, do not be afraid to lead, but first it's going to take being a servant. So as we talk about being a AmeriCorps member, one thing I want to remind us of, Ms. Bradley talked about our pledge yesterday, and I think that the AmeriCorps pledge encompasses everything that it means to be a servant leader. So you will get things done for America to make people safer, smarter, and healthier. I will bring Americans together to strengthen our communities. Faced with apathy, I will take action. Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground. Faced with adversity, I will persevere. I will carry this commitment with me this year and beyond. I'm a AmeriCorps member and I will get things done. So that's what I want us to do as servant leaders. We are here to get things done. Thank you. And as I say,